If I told you at the start of 2021 that we'd be not only be getting a new Metroid, but a brand new ActRaiser, how would you feel? It's a goddamn lie, isn't it? But no, it's the goddamn truth. Because today we're going to be looking at ActRaiser Renaissance and comparing it to the original Super Nintendo release. And it's just great to see that Square Enix went back and acknowledged the series so we can play it today. Two disclaimers before we go into it. The first one, my SCART cable on my Super Nintendo actually... So if you want to see composite video, I hope you enjoy that because that's all we gotta do right now. And the second one is I want to give a huge thank you to Square Enix for sending me a PC Steam code for me to review. But you guys know me. I'm not gonna let that influence my decision. And if anything, Square Enix, you got a lot of optimization to do. You need to start that now. So what is ActRaiser Renaissance? What are you getting with this? It is a dual genre, a triple genre game now that has platforming sections where you become a god and smite different enemies, where you're doing city building and building up your city as a god, and finally where you're a tower defense man defending against demons. You guys won't like that one, trust me. ActRaiser Renaissance sets out to redefine and add more context to the original experience and also expand it for a new audience. I think a lot of people would genuinely be really happy with this game, but there are some serious optimization problems as well as graphical settings that I have a huge problem with, and I really hope that Square Enix can fix these because... So what new improvements are you looking here for ActRaiser? And let's start with the platforming, because that's the main one that everyone thinks when they think of ActRaiser. It is a typical side-scrolling left from right where it allows you to become a god and smite down enemies. You have newer attacks that you didn't have in the previous one where you can actually attack up, attack down. You also have a backstep which allows you to go left. And I think it's a really cool element that the maneuverability is so much better. Also, level design is much broader and much bigger. It doesn't feel like there's filler, but it feels like there's genuine positive level design that attributes to everything else. And I think the pacing is rather nice. If you guys thought also that enemy design and attacks will be the same as the previous one, you're not in for that. It's going to be a little bit changed, a little bit different from the original one, let's say with the Centaur. I really do appreciate that they're really mixing things up to make it a bit more of a fresh experience. So ActRaiser Renaissance incorporates a brand new numerical health system in comparison to the other blocky health bar that you got in the previous ActRaiser. And I actually prefer this because I feel like there's enemies dealing a bit more damage, so I think the numerical one adds more value to that. Not only that, I have a huge significant problem with the original ActRaiser in that when an enemy hits you, you don't have any invisibility frames, meaning they could keep attacking and attacking and you'll be getting hit with, let's say, 2 or 3 hits. And I think that just defunks the entire game, at least for me personally. With this one, it's different. You actually have invisibility frames, so if an enemy hits you, you have a little bit of recovery time, then you go back, just like a typical game should. A lot of people might think that the numerical value will make the game easier, and in some sections maybe, but if you really want a harder difficulty, just crank the difficulty up. I think you'll be pretty pleased with that at least. All right, next we're gonna be talking about the city building sections where you're a Shota angel now. Yay. You're going around as a Shota, building up your town. And try to make your people happy. That is one of the worst sentences I've ever said. As an angel, you're maneuvering your town folks to build different parts of their town and try to expand their population and stuff like that. Because of that, you did have enemies from different spawners that went and attacked you, but now they also added a siege section. Yay, tower defense. No, that's an actual incorporated element into this game. We'll be talking about that in a bit. For the city planning, they also added forts and ballistas, meaning that you can attach a set amount of forts and ballistas to protect your town from different demons and stuff like that. And this only works during the sieges and unfortunately not from enemies that are oncoming on the screen that you see on the overworld. So it is a little bit of a minus there, but yeah, you're going to be having that as well. Square Enix also went to go above and beyond and actually add story context to this town. And it's not just a really bare bones town in the previous game where you were just, city building and then you moved on to the next. No, this is like, it feels like more of a living, breathing town now that there's story context. You're finding more about the townsfolk, and not only that, there are heroes who are genuinely concerned for the townsfolk because of these plagues and these demons that are riddling this town. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot more story context that I think a lot of people will appreciate. If you don't care about that, just press the start menu and just go with that. You'll be fine. My least favorite section is the tower defense section. I have a personal bias against tower defense games. I don't find them entertaining, and if anything, rather annoying. And this one isn't far from that, and I'll have problems with that too. Due to certain quests and certain parts of the game, you're actually forced to do tower defense where demons and different monsters come in trying to destroy your temple. It is up to you to guard your town using forts and ballistas, and only one single unit, which is your hero, in order to make sure these demons don't go into your temple. It's a problem because you only have control of one character and you have control of all of your ballistas as well as your forts. That's it. You can't really maneuver any forces, you can't really have any troops or anything like that. You can use miracles in order to smite some of these demons, but other than that, it's kind of it. My constructive criticism on this, if you're gonna go full tower defense and really go gung-ho for a specific genre, either go all the way or don't do it. The tower defense does feel not only tacked on, but it feels a little bit half-assed, and I feel like if they added a little bit more, this would have at least been decently robust. But there's a lot of tower defense, and if you don't like that, you might not like this game. All right, I will say this though. If you do like the music for ActRaiser, Yuzo Koshiro is actually back to not only give you the original soundtrack that was on the Super Nintendo version, but also a brand new orchestrated remastered, and it's amazing. If you loved anything of the original ActRaiser and you always see covers of this game, you're gonna really like what this is gonna bring to the table. I know a lot of people might prefer to put the original, but I implore you, you need to put the remaster. It's amazing. The art style also has been significantly changed to more of an anime style, which I don't have a problem with. Maybe some people will, but I personally have no problem with. They made the god character look a lot like Griffith. And honestly, the art style is really wonderfully done. A lot of the art is great. I really felt that the backgrounds look true to them. I will admit that maybe some of the rigging on some of the characters and animation is kind of lazy. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know animation, but to my eyes it looks a little bit lazy. They could have done a little bit more, but that also maybe feels like this was a lower budget game, so maybe that's the reason why. And finally, we're going to be talking about the graphical settings. There's a brand new art style like I mentioned, but this also extends to the platforming sections, and I'm going to be honest, it's not as detailed as I thought it would be. I'm going to go into more of this in my problem section, but it does look significantly different from the original, and there is no option to put the original graphical style. You have to stick with this for better or worse, and that's mostly worse. All right, so what are some problems that I do have with ActRaiser? Let's start with the optimization, because it's not good. So keep in mind, I am running a 3060 with a first-gen Ryzen 5. It's not the best at the moment, but more than enough and more than capable to run this game. This game chugs, and there's a lot of stuttering in terms of frame rate and even screen tearing, similar to like, let's say, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which Square said they were fixing. So moving from left to right, you'll see a lot of screen tearing. Even with VSync and even with higher frame rates, you still get screen tearing, and that's just a significant problem. And it's starting to lead me to believe that Square Enix didn't do any optimizations for the other console, and considering that I've been hearing there are Switch problems of running this game, I can only imagine how much worse it is from here. If the PC is at the top and the pinnacle of what it could be and everything else is below that, Square, you got some work to do, and you know that. Another thing I do have a problem with are reused characters and reused demons, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you see how low poly some of these characters are in the platforming sections, they just look kind of off when you're seeing them during the siege weapons. And it's not really that much of a complaint, but I think it's something to note, and that also leads me to my other point. I actually really hate how the game looks. And the reason is because when you blow this game up and when you up-res it, this game still looks pretty low poly and it still looks pretty bad. And not in a pixel perfect representation perspective either, but I just mean that it doesn't feel like Square Enix took that much care into the way the game looks into its platforming sections. Sure, the city building and the art style looks pretty nice, maybe it could be a little better, but I really think the platforming sections really suffer in how they look visually. I feel like this is something that modders might have to fix, but it's just annoying. I don't think the game looks that appealing, and if anything, it just looks pretty ugly. That leads to another point that it would have been nice to maybe see a pixel art version. So if you could go back to the original graphical style, maybe that is asking much from Square Enix, but I feel like it is possible to ask for that. But if not, if you want the original graphical setting, you can't get that. You have to deal with what's given to you, and what's given to you is not good to begin with. My final 2 complaints is that tower defense is horrendous. If you don't like how robust this is, you're gonna have to be dealing with a lot of tower defense. A lot of your townsfolk, or even randomly, enemies just come in and, you know, start sieges. It's just annoying because I feel like this is like 45 to 50% of the game, and it's just annoying. I don't like tower defense sections, and you know, if you only expect new platforming and city building, you're not going to get that here. It's more tower defense. And that leads me to my last thing, is because of this tower defense situation, pacing is out of whack. I do feel like time in the city building is much slower, and because of that, you're not doing as much platforming and you're doing too much tower defense. So a combination of all 3 genres doesn't feel balanced. Let's say in the original, going back to the Super Nintendo version, when you did do the platforming sections, they were pretty challenging. And not only that, they did have a good amount of chunk of time to spend with. And then once you finish with that, you did the city building, spend 30 or 40 minutes on that, then go back into another battle. I felt like these were planned out pretty nicely and the pacing was done pretty well. It didn't feel like one was more thought than the other. This one is different. The pacing just feels completely different. And if anything, like I said, if you don't like tower defense, you're not gonna like this game. So is this worth $30? I think that's the going rate for this game. Honestly, it depends on who you're asking. I genuinely think this game has a lot of great content that adds to the original experience, and I think that still rings true. You are getting a new genre here, so if you do like tower defense, you're getting that. You're getting more elements for city building, and you're getting a little bit more robust features to the platforming. However, you're minusing quite a lot. The graphics actually don't look good when it comes to the platforming. Optimization is pretty bad, and if you're running it on consoles, I can't imagine how much worse it is. So with all of this, $30 is kind of a bit to ask for. I would definitely recommend saving your money a little bit, wait for some eShop sales, Steam sale, PSN. I'm pretty sure you could get this game for cheaper, but as it is now, it's just disappointing to see that Square Enix could have done more. I personally feel that Square Enix kind of geared this game more for iOS and mobile first, then ported it to other consoles. And that's the way this game feels in look, in atmosphere, and everything. But I feel like underneath all that grime, there really is a solid game. And if you do love the platforming sections and some of the city building, you will be happy with this. I will say that. I did enjoy my time with the game. Although I don't like the the tower defense sections, I think you'll have a good experience. And those are my thoughts on the ActRaiser. What do you guys think of ActRaiser? You think this is a great remake of the original? Is it kind of bad? Or maybe there's some things they should have added? Let me know down in the comments below and see what you guys think. And want to give a thank you to Square Enix for allowing me to look at this game and sending me a code so I can give you guys what I think of the game. And I think you'll have a good time. But I think you need to keep those caveats in mind. So thank you guys for watching the video. I just want to give a thank you to these people on my left, to Tells Rob, as well as Power Matt. Why did I name them by name? If you want to know, join the Kelpie crew and you can help support the channel. That way we can get more equipment. And if you guys can see, you know, there's a microphone here, there are 2 lights right here, and I have this whole setup. So it's thanks to you guys that happened. And if you want to see more videos, you can check them out on my right. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.